We're now going to talk about how we can draw basic shapes. So the first shape we're going to talk about is drawing a rectangle. Now the way that you draw things onto the canvas is that you, first of all, like we said earlier, put them into the draw function. So when I run this code, notice how it doesn't have the draw run function, the run draw function. That's because it's assuming that you run that. So if I just ran this code without anything else, it wouldn't work. However, if I put it into this and I replace this draw function with this code as such, and then I run it, I'll get the rectangle. Now let's first try and understand exactly how the rectangle is drawn. So first of all, notice how in order to draw anything we do canvas dot. So this is a method onto the canvas. So we're telling it draw on the canvas. We're saying create rectangle. So this is a function in the canvas which when called will draw a rectangle on the canvas. Now before we talk about exactly what these parameters mean, let's try to think about different ways that we can represent rectangles. Now let's say I have a rectangle like this. I basically want to be able to specify exactly where the rectangle is. So it turns out that one way you can do this is by specifying the top left point and the bottom right point. So what we're going to do is say there's x1, and then there's y1, and that's the top left point. And the bottom right point is x2 and y2. So the way that tkinter draws a rectangle is that you tell it x1 and x1, y1, and then you also tell it x2, y2. When you give it these 2 points, it'll draw a rectangle with that as the top left and this as the bottom right. So if we look at this, really what we're doing is calling create rectangle. So the first 2 points it takes in is x1, y1, so x1, y1. The next 2 points it takes in is x2, y2, so x2, y2. So this will draw a rectangle on the starting at 0, 0 and going to 150, 150. So that's what these 4 arguments are. Now the next argument is fill equals yellow. So when we draw things, we can also give different settings that we want the thing we drew to have. So here I say fill equals yellow. Thus it'll fill it in with a yellow color. I could say fill equals blue or fill equals red. tkinter has a bunch of default colors which you can find online, which will essentially allow you to draw it the certain color. Now another thing to note is, so if I draw it, let's see what it looks like. So it changed it to red and it drew it. So notice how we say 0, 0, but notice how it's in the top left corner. So this is going back to what I said in the last video, which is where is 0, 0 on this canvas? So like I said, 0, 0 is in the top left, which means that the origin, as far as the xy coordinates are concerned, starts and is at the top left. So we say go to 150, 150. So if this was a normal, if the origin, if up 150 positively, if this is 0, 0, 150 would be up. However, in graphics, when we say go in a positive y direction, we actually mean go down. So what this is doing is going 150 to the left and then 150 down. So the point 150, 150 is actually right here. So let's say that I said that I should make y2 200. So now I've actually increased the value of the bottom right corner. I've made it 200. So what we expect is that now, instead of being 150, 150, it'll go down more because I've made the y value larger. So let's actually test this theory and run the code. And so now the bottom right corner was lowered because I made the y value larger. So this is a concept which is oftentimes hard for students to understand, but up is down. When I have a positive y value on the canvas, it's actually going down from the top. So when I make the y value larger, it actually goes lower and lower on the canvas. So just remember, up is down, and the origin, 0, 0, is in the top left corner.